Brundle and Nelson. Nicholas Taylor, the 17-year-old, leading the way at the moment. Good fight going on for 4th place as well. Side by side. Their way. Wheel to wheel with Max Maserati, who's got the inside line. He's just about able to elbow his way through as they head up towards the bomb hole. So Max Maserati now up into 4th position, whilst the leading trio break away a little bit and head in towards the braking area for Murray's to complete the first lap. Nicholas Taylor leading the way. Over the start-finish line, they will thread their way. Nicholas Taylor leads the way. Tom Mills in 2nd place, coming under pressure from Alex Walker as they go over the start-finish line. Alex Walker absolutely on the gearbox of Tom Mills. Is he going to squeeze his way up the inside as they head in towards Ritchie's? Yes, he does. Through goes the 18-year-old, who finished runner-up in the National Formula 4 Championship last year, through and ahead of one of the drivers he was fighting wheel-to-wheel with in that series last year, because he's just gone through and ahead of the driver that finished 4th in the series that he was racing in last year. So the two of them know each other well, albeit they are both going to be pushing each other as hard as they possibly can. But that little overtake has just allowed Nicholas Taylor to open up a slight advantage now. Max Maserati settling in his newly acquired 4th place and has already started to pull away from Jared Waberski, who is in danger of losing a further place here, actually. In fact, I think he is going to lose out. Yeah, through goes the Swedish driver. Elias Adastem goes through, picks up a place. So Jared Waberski qualified in 3rd, but I'm afraid that Jared is now down into something like 6th position now. So he's been picked off by a couple. Plenty of time for him to still settle in, because we've got 15 minutes remaining of this first ever GB4 Championship race. Down the Bentley straight there will go. Nicholas Taylor for Fortec Motorsport leading the way, not really under any great deal of pressure. Place. We've only got 12 cars on the grid, so if you finish 12th, you'd still pick up 9 championship points, but there's no extra points for fastest lap, there's no extra points for qualifying. Over the start-finish line now go Nicholas Taylor leading Alex Walker, Tom Mills, Max Maserati, then Elias Adestem at the wheel of his newly acquired 5th place, Jared Waberski dropping down into 6th place, Megan Gilks is there in 7th place. Chloe Grant's there in 8th place, so she's done well. She qualified 11th. She's now been to 8th place. Jessica Edgar is 9th. Jack Sherwood is 10th, I'm afraid to say. That's the car that stalled on the grid. Jack was 4th in qualifying, so he's really having to slowly pick them all off. And then we've got Logan Hanna, who's there in 11th place, and Christian Lester is the last of the runners in 12th position at the wheel of the Rosso Verde racing car. Nice to see Rosso Verde back on an entry list again nowadays. Christian Lester is son of Hector Lester, who was a long time competitor in the British GT Championship, largely in Ferraris for a good number of years. So the Fiat engines, the Abarth engines, working hard. These little 1.4 litre, 160 brake horsepower engines, pushing these drivers around the circuit as quickly as we can. Pole time was a woman in 48.6. Fastest lap we've had so far is a woman in 51.2. And that's gone the way of our race leader, Nicholas Taylor, who is on lap number 3, threading his way down through Brundle and Nelson, and still has that daylight. But it's got the day glow flashes around the airbox and around the wing mirrors, whereas it's the grey and the lighter blue colours that sits behind in the hands of 16-year-old South African Jared Waberski. Getting in the slipstream though, closing up as they head up towards the top section of the Bentley Straight. He's still not quite close enough though to try and sneak his way through, get a nice clean exit, see whether he might be able to do something on the run-up in towards the Wilson hairpin, but I think Adestem was looking to try and cover off any move there. And the difficulty is, of course, in these cars, because they are slicks and wings, is that the closer you get to the car ahead, you lose aero off your car, you then start to overwork the tyres a little bit, so it's really quite hard to stay right on the gearbox of a car without causing yourself problems. So, past Tyrrell's Bar and Restaurant, which remains open by the way, in towards the braking area for the left-hander at Agostini. Sun still glinting off the cars. Now, these two need to be careful now because closing up behind them is going to be Megan Gilks. So the Canadian, 21 years of age, is really starting to close in now. She's got plenty of single-seater racing experiences, Megan. So did National Formula Ford last year. She finished 10th in it. We've seen her out in Formula 2000 in the past. She did W Series. I think she won non-championship the Netherlands. Tail through Coram up towards left-hander of Murray's. Jared Waberski working hard to see whether there's any opportunity to try and retake the place that he lost to Elias Edestam a couple of laps ago. Edestam trying to break the slipstream on the car of Jared Waberski, but Jared's having absolutely none of that. He's sitting firmly on the gearbox of him, and now is there an opportunity again? Edestam has to move from the left-hand side of the circuit as he exits Ritchie's to the right-hand side to cover off the inside line on the run towards the braking area for the Wilson hairpin. Nothing doing still. Close stuff, but clean and tidy between them all, and we're not far away from the halfway point of the race now. 18-minute race. We've got 9 3/4 left. All of the time, whilst Nicholas Taylor continues to lead the way. Last time through, set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:50.222, and he now has built up a 2-second advantage between himself and Alex Walker in second position. So it's Fortec Motorsport from Elite Motorsport, then Kevin Milnes Racing. Max Maserati is next up, ahead of Elias Edestam and Jared Waberski, who complete the top 6. Megan Gilks is there in 7th place. Chloe Grant is 8th. Jack Sherwood's gained another place on that lap, so the man who stalled from 4th on the finish now. Taylor safely through Ritchie's. Another lap completed, another lap in which he's just set the fastest lap of the race as well. 1:49.867 for Nicholas Taylor. Not quite the perfect lap. It was green in the first sector, which means that's quicker than Nicholas has previously gone, but he was purple in sector 2 and sector 3, which is quicker than anybody has gone through the second and third parts of the lap. And if you weren't with us earlier on this morning, or have only just tuned in, the circuit here at Snetterton broke into 3 sectors. The first sector brings them from the start-finish line to a point that's roughly on the entrance to Agostini. That's part 1 of the lap. Part 2 of the lap is from there to roughly where the bridge is on the Bentley Straight, and part 3 brings you from there to the start-finish line, so we can see how cars are getting on throughout the lap, and then see as to what ultimately the lap times might look like. That was a good little squabble that was going on there. Megan Gilks almost managed to get a bit of an overlap there and squeeze her way through. But it didn't quite work for her in the end. If anything, she's lost a little bit of time there, the Canadian, so she's going to have to sort of regather her thoughts and try and work her way back up onto the coattails of those. Max Maserati in 5th now is Jared Waberski. So is Elias Edestam, who did lose out on that lap. Waberski, who finally was able to unpick his way through. And now the South African is really there. So another lap about to be concluded. The number 64 car of back any time that was lost on that lap.